Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IS Academy. So in this lecture we continue with our new NCERT series. So we will be taking chapter 7, that is the only chapter related to Indian economy in the 8th standard NCERT. The name of the chapter being Factors of Production. So without further ado, let's get started with chapter 7. So the chapter's name itself suggests what we will be discussing in it. Chapter 7, that is factors of production. So we'll understand what are these factors of production, how they are related, so on and so forth. So let's get started with a particular quote, as NCERT always does. So this quote is by Vivek Debroy, who has been the chairperson of Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister from 2017 to 2024. The quote says that for a country like India, the largest contribution to growth and productivity will probably come about from more efficiently used land, labor, and capital. Thus, they must be used more efficiently. Now, here, in fact, he has given us 3 of the 4 factors of production, that is land, labor, and capital, and says that if it is used more efficiently, that's when the productivity and contribution will come from. So, we should use it effectively, is what he is saying. So let's move ahead with respect to the questions that this chapter is going to answer. First, what are the factors of production? Second, how are these factors interconnected, as I mentioned? And third, what is the role of human capital in production and what are its facilitators? Right, so keep these 3 questions in mind, which we will try to answer through this particular chapter. So here in the pictures you can see the various activities that are taking place, various skills that are at work, various production that is taking place. So let's move ahead with the introduction, wherein it talks about you wondering about how your clothes, shoes, school bags, furniture, phone, computer, etc. are made. Now, every product around us basically goes through a production process before it finally reaches us. Now, this production process involves resources or inputs that are required for producing the final product. The resources or inputs used in producing goods and services are hence called as factors of production. So basically the resources or the inputs that are used in the goods and services that we consume, the finished or the final goods and services, that goods and resources and inputs to manufacture the goods and services are nothing but the factors of production. This is an anecdote. There is an anecdote about a person known as Ratna. So asked to meet Ratna, who runs a small restaurant named Pause Point. On a highway, she runs this business. It's popular among the highway travelers for its tasty food, high quality food. It is growing with a team of 7 people who assist Ratna in managing the business. Now, when she started this business 5 years ago, she had to choose a location, to organize money for the rent and equipment, hire the staff, buy the ingredients, and plan how to make her dream a success. So, all these planning is what she was required to do. Right, so basically she was required to do all these things in order to run the business that she is doing now. So this brings us to the concept of business. So what is business? Business is basically any individual can do it, or you can have a company. So basically a firm, a shop, a factory which produces or sells goods or provides a particular service to someone for profit, basically. Right. So now this business basically combines various inputs or factors of production to create the goods and services. It also generates opportunities for people to engage in the economic activities. Basically, they are talking about employment. It creates basically the employment opportunities. I hope that is clear. Now, let's continue over here. Now, in economics, these inputs which are used in the production process or the factor of production. So these inputs are known as factors of production. So these inputs or the factors of production can be classified into 4 types. What are these 4 types? Number 1 is land. Number 2 is labor. Number 3 is capital. And number 4 is entrepreneurship. These are the 4 things. Now, in addition to that, there can be certain facilitators on top of it. For example, technology is a facilitator and a crucial factor that enables businesses to produce more goods with the same or fewer inputs. Right? So let us now delve deep into the factors of production. The very first factor of production is land, which is a natural resource. Okay. Now, land over here in economy is not only the geographical land but also the natural resources like soil, forest, water, air, sunlight, mineral oil, and natural gas all together is nothing but land, right? Now, this land is basically nature who has gifted it to us, and it depends on us how we use it. Now, businesses either purchase this land, so they will be owning this land, or they rent it out by paying rent for a particular period of time, right? So, that's the first factor of production, right? The next factor of production is labor, that is the human resource. All right. Now, labor is essential in production involving physical and mental effort. Carpenters, farmers, construction workers, teachers, doctors, they use varying levels of physical strength, knowledge, and skill. What is a skill? A skill is the ability to do an activity or a job well. With practice and training, the skill can be developed and enhanced. Right. Now, the thing is, just because someone is there, a human is there, does not mean they are human resource. This is simply a population, right? So how do people get converted into resource? By training them, educating them, skilling them, keeping them of good health. Only then they will be converted as human resource. So if you talk about people as a resource, now human being play a key role in the economic activity and production process because they apply their knowledge, their skill, decision making abilities to create goods and services. Example they have given of a police officer who maintains law and order, a scientist invents new technologies, a chef develops new recipes, so on and so forth. They all require special set of knowledge and skills to perform, right? Now, of course, they have to be dedicated in the work to do their work as best as possible. So here we have certain people with certain skills: worker at a tea plantation, chemical engineer, right? Then you have here a carpenter, a software developer. Now, the word labor that is there, it refers to the physical and mental effort used in production. However, human capital refers to the specialized skill, knowledge, abilities, and expertise required to perform that labor. So, very important differentiation between labor and human capital, which you should note down. Okay. Now, let us see what are the facilitators of human capital. Means what are the things that facilitates human labor. The very first thing, education and training. If you don't have training, you may not perform well. So education helps individuals in gaining knowledge, starting with the basic literacy and extending to expertise of specific fields. Now, what you learn in school, it will enrich your knowledge. You can use your knowledge at your job as well. Okay. At the same time, there is an issue of practically doing certain things. For example, a civil engineering student learns principles of designs materials now which are applied to building infrastructure like roads, bridges. However, the challenge is about creating durable, cost efficient, and eco-friendly solutions. Now, this is achieved through training such as observing the construction site, testing the material, understanding the safety procedures, and hands-on application. So with education and training, this can be achieved. What is training? It is the process of learning the required skill to do a particular job or activity. Then the next enabler is the healthcare. A person has to be of good health, only then they can actually do the job, or else they will be bedridden. So health is very important. So good health basically supports cognitive development. What is cognitive? It refers to the process of learning and knowing and understanding, right? So good health will help in our cognitive ability, allowing children to attend the school regularly, learn better, train better, skill better, so on and so forth. At the same time, there are social and cultural influences. Here they are taking the example of kaizen, right, from Japan. So Japan has a very hard working culture, and they work on the principle of kaizen, which means continuous improvement. Do not be satisfied, keep on continuously improving it. So they work on that principle. It is there in culture. So culture and society also plays a very important role, is what they are trying to tell us. Now, what are the challenges to human capital? See, the issue is adult literacy rate is low. We have unskilled labors, semi-skilled labors, skilled or highly skilled labors are less, as a result of which productivity is less, right? So what is adult literacy? Basically the percent of people aged 15 and above who can read and write with understanding a short simple statement about their everyday life. So if you can understand a short statement about, you can read and write the short simple statement about your everyday life, then you will be called as a literate person. If not, you will not be a literate person. Generally it is calculated for people age 15, people aged 15 and above, right? Now according to economic survey 24, 65% of the people in India are below the age of 35. That means we have a very young population, right? Now since the population is very young, we can utilize this high amount of working age population to generate more production, more productivity in order for the economy to grow better. However, is it sure that we will be able to do that? No, not necessarily. Why? Because these people need to be educated, skilled, literate, and of good health in order to do that. So that will play a very important role over here. Okay. Now, India, however, has had ancient skill heritage. Our civilization is one of the oldest civilization of the world, and we have a huge, rich culture and heritage in all the domains that we see now. Right? For ancient Indians, work was form of expressing their nature and striving for perception. It was an offering to the deity, to the god or the goddess, to the deity, to the receiver, as the case may be, right? It had to be created or done with devotion. We did it with devotion, we did it religiously, we did it as a an offering to our god, remember, even now when you are, let's say, doing a small business, you are preparing, you are a restaurant owner and you make some, you are selling dosas, right? So even now the very first dosa, the dosa shopkeeper actually devotes to the god that they believe in, right? So that is the kind of devotion that we have in our work. Not just that, there is a concept of Vishwakarma Puja, right? The tools and tackles, the machinery which has advanced, basically are worshipped, right? During the Vishwakarma Puja, these machineries, either the Vishwakarma Puja or the Ayuddha Puja, which you call it, during that these things are actually what do you say, worshipped. So what is this? This is basically the devotion and dedication of a person towards their work. That is how seriously they take their work. That is how how much pride they take in their work. This is how much sincerity they show in their work, and gratitude that they have towards their work. All of this is significant. Right, so creating products basically involves a unique blend of kala, that is art and vidya, that is knowledge. So knowledge was passed from one generation to another generation through the text, for example, right? Uh, or you can say knowledge passed from one generation to another and also built on, it was passed through text, verbal, so on and so forth. The Shilpa Shastras are the ancient texts that contain detailed design guidelines on sculptures, paintings, buildings, wooden items, jewelry, etc. Example they have given: text on sculpture prescribe exact specification regarding posture, color, measurement, and proportion of figures. Now our culture heritage is quite rich. It's that the foreigners have looted us a lot and taken a lot of things, advices, guidelines, everything from here, and made it popular as if it were their own. So it's high time that we now make our own ancient things which were being projected as very new and European dominated and European created, or created by any foreign country in the last few hundred years, is known to Indians thousands of years back, right? So it is high time that we propagate that, project that, and get the fair share or the due respect, or appreciation and gratitude towards us, that what we have contributed to the world. So another example here that has been given is of stitched shipbuilding. So Indians back over 2000 years used to make ships and boats by stitching together. This is what recreation of a 5th century stitched ship, right? So that is all we have been doing. So that is the second factor of production, that is labor. Third is capital. What is capital? It is an asset. It is any asset, whether physical, financial, used to produce goods and services. So business along with labor also requires capital that comprises monetary resources, durable assets like machinery, tool, equipment, vehicles, vending carts, computers, shop, factories, office buildings, buildings are places basically for their day to day operation. Just as Ratna would have required money to take the land on lease, but the furniture and buy the furniture and the kitchen equipment, etc., any other business also requires capital. So it is an essential to the manufacturing or the creating unit of a business. I hope this clear. But when you take capital like Ratna, you have to pay an interest. What is interest? The amount of money to be paid to the borrower of a loan to lend to the lender for using their money for a specific period of time. Since we are borrowing money from someone, we are using their money for some period of time and we are going to return it to them after some time. So for being allowed to use that money for some time, we have to pay them some money in additional money in return, that is the interest. Right now, what happens? You make profits. Similarly, large companies require a lot of money to expand their business. So what happens is they can issue shares, they can give shares in your company to us, in their company to us, and then basically ask us to invest through the shares, and through that shares they will raise funds. So let's say the company is diluting 10% of the shares and I buy that 10% of the shares, so I become the owner, 10% owner of that company, and they will have my money. Now what will happen? Will they return back? No. But whatever the profit comes to the company, 10% will be given to me. That is known as the concept of dividend. So what is dividend? An amount of money paid regularly by a company to its shareholders out of the profit. So out of the total profit that the company will be making, an amount of money will be paid regularly to the company, right, to its shareholders from the profits that the company generally makes. Okay. Then the next one you have is the entrepreneurship, right? The entrepreneurship basically, it means starting your own business or creating something new to solve a problem. So who's an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is basically a person who comes up with an idea, right, takes the risks, gathers other factors of production, and works hard to make their startup successful. What is a startup? Startup is an entrepreneurial venture with limited resources that aimed at rapid growth and expansion while leveraging technology. So a very new, or let's say embryonic stage entrepreneurial venture which you have just now started and you want to grow it rapidly with the use of technology is basically a startup, and an entrepreneur basically runs the startup. So what does the entrepreneur do? What task does an entrepreneur perform? So the entrepreneur performs the task of identifying a problem and is resolute to solve it with an innovative solution. So an entrepreneur basically identifies the problem and wants to solve that problem, then takes the risk by investing money and time, right, combines various factors of production, contributes to the welfare of the society with his or her or their innovation, and makes key decisions regarding the operation and functioning of his or her business. I hope that's clear. Now let's move on and look at one such entrepreneur. So J.R.D. Tata, that is Jehangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata, who was India's greatest entrepreneur and played a big role in building modern India. Right. So the man who dreamed big, with big dreams only big success is what is going to come. He started India's first airline. Yes, he started India's first airline, the Tata Airlines, in 1932, which later became Air India. Under his leadership, Tata Group expanded into many other areas like Tata Steel, Tata Power, Tata Consultancy, cars, chemicals, etc. etc. Okay. In 1992, he has also received Bharat Ratna Award, which is the highest civilian award for his great service to the nation. Right. Now what is the enabler to all these factors of production? It's technology, and enabler to the production process. Right. So how does technology enable? See, what happens is you might be using a technology, so the requirement of the manual labor is going to go down, and technology will give you faster and more production, faster production, more efficient production. That is the idea over here. Okay. So And now this is a wheelbarrow on a construction site. You can put the bricks on over here. So it's a small technology basically. Instead of carrying the bricks on your head or in your hands, which will be less, you put it in over here, and with the wheelbarrow take it to somewhere else, which will make it faster. Okay, these are the pulleys used on the boards to pull something up, which makes it easier. Then technology paving the way for accessing knowledge, skills and job opportunities. So the government has a Swayam portal. The question was asked in 2016, asking Swayam portal is related to what? So Swayam basically is the study webs of active learning for young aspiring minds. It is an online portal wherein free courses are available. Like this, you also have government's national career services where you can find the jobs as well, right? Now the question is, how are the factors connected? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship and technology, how are they connected? Basically they combine together to produce goods and services, and the proportion of each factor used depends on the product that is being produced. Example that they have given is output from agriculture, construction and handicraft sector rely more on labor and thus is labor intensive, while semiconductor chip or satellite require more money, more capital, specialized machinery and are capital incentive, money incentive basically, right? In some case in these factors complement each other, of course, and are interconnected. In case of some missing or misused factors, production can become inefficient or can be halted if there are certain factors of production that are missing. Similarly, they have given an example of 3D printing, which can help to revive the dying art of the dying art forms in textile by producing handloom products at a very large scale. So instead of dyeing it from hand, you can dye it electronically through machine in the exact same exact color that you want through computerized methods, which can expand the process. The business also you make it huge. The production inputs are available at different geographic locations. Businesses can procure them from the varied locations and combine the inputs to produce the goods and services. So the businesses from various locations can combine the inputs to produce the goods that they want to do it. Now this can be achieved through supply chain. So what is supply chain? Supply chain is basically a network of individuals, organizations, resources, activities and technology that are involved in the production and sale of goods. That is the supply chain. The supply chain of the raw material, intermediate goods, then processed goods, raw material, then processed or intermediate goods, then that is used to convert it into the finished goods, right? Now during COVID-19, basically there was a disruption in the supply chain due to relying on resources from far off places, from other countries, instead of local inputs. Now this resulted in the halt of production process, as was the case during COVID-19 pandemic. So this is our country. Now if we are relying on things from foreign country, far off country, during COVID this import is going to be stopped, so our production is going to stop, right? That is why if we focus a lot on the local things, then this can still go on, is what is being said. A simple flow chart they have given with respect to the process of mobile assembly. So first the R&D team basically conceptualizes the new features in a smartphone. They acquire land and set up factory, they acquire raw material, microchips, etc. Then they assemble the components and install the software, then testing of the phone functionality, quality, etc. Then mass production and packaging, and then distribution to the retail stores from where we actually buy the mobile phone. So this is entire thing is a supply chain. Now responsibilities towards factor of production. See, when we produce certain goods, we use natural resources like land, water, mineral, etc. However, what can happen is this can create certain concerns. See, an example that they have given in Tamil Nadu, many people earn money by working in leather factories. Now, this helps the economy, that is fine. But the waste from these industries can pollute the river water and the soil. In the same way, it is said that old smartphones, if they are not recycled properly, harmful substances like lead and mercury can leak out in the ground, thus polluting the environment, polluting the soil, polluting the air, polluting the water. And when the same air we breathe is the same water we drink, leads to various health issues and concerns in the human body itself. That is an issue. That is why it is important for producer to use natural resources responsibly. Use it responsibly, use it in a sustainable manner, use it as if you have borrowed it from the future generation, not as if you have bought it from the previous generation. Don't use it as if you own it. Use it knowing that the future generation should also be able to meet their demands. So use it sustainably. That is the meaning of sustainable usage. That means using enough in order to ensure that the amount is also left for the future generation to meet their needs. Now if your speed of extraction is less than the speed of uh, let's say revitalization. Now let's say for example this is the resource. Now you are using it. Let's say you are using it means you are extracting it. So this is the speed of extraction. Now if the speed of extraction is less than the speed of rejuvenation, that means it is getting refilled at a faster rate. So if your speed of extraction is less than the speed of rejuvenation, then it will not end. But if your speed of extraction is faster than the speed of rejuvenation, then it will actually end. So we should use sustainably. That means our use of speed of extraction should be less than the speed of regeneration, which will make it available for the future generation as well, and the replenishment of the resources can actually take place. Right. Now apart from land and natural resources, business also have responsibilities towards their workers and employees, which are summarized below. Let's see what they are. First is fair compensation and work condition needs to be provided to the employees. I hope we agree with that. Then skill development and training needs to be provided for them to produce more. Productivity should be high. Workplace rights and protection will be there, should be there, right? So that they are also feeling safe, and then they can focus on the work at hand. So laws, regulations for workers, rights relating to fair treatment, preventing discrimination, providing benefits like healthcare or paid leaves, etc., should be present for the workers who are, remember, human beings, not robots or machines. As a result of it, these things needs to be also provided to them. I hope that is clear. Now before we end, there's another thing that they have mentioned over here. Businesses are motivated to address social and environmental concerns in their operations. Right? How? Through the corporate social responsibility. So there is a criteria which you will study about later, that if a business earns some amount of profit and has some amount of revenue, then some amount of it should spend on CSR activities, that is corporate social responsibility activities. Means spend in education, environment, sustainability, reduction in pollution, or give the money to the prime minister's care funds or any other such fund which the government can use for social environmental benefit, so on and so forth. All right, so that is about it with respect to the factors of production. I hope the factors of production are absolutely clear to you. They are land first, then labor, then capital, and then entrepreneurship. Right, these are the four factors of production. Then there are enablers like technology, like health, like education, like skill, etc., which enables these factors of production. Remember, just the humans alone are not labor. They need to be skilled, they need to be trained, they need to be educated, and they need to be of good health in order to be converted into human capital, which can then be used for producing more in an economy. So that's about it with respect to economy part in the 8th standard NCERT, which was just one chapter. And basically the idea was that the entire NCERT these times are coming up in such a way that there is one NCERT with multiple subjects in it. So in 8th standard NCERT, the 7th chapter was related to the Indian economy. So that's about it from my end. So stay tuned with Legacy IS Academy in order to complete your entire NCERT thoroughly with us. Thank you.